Alright, welcome back to part 3 of an already solved format starring, well, I can probably play this deck, dual powers coming out. We got Endymion right around the corner, and we will eventually talk about probably Endymion. If we get some likes on this video, I can make that dedication to part 4. What we're kind of expecting out of the spellcaster structure deck, things like that. You know, a lot of these decks are in interesting places at the moment, and that's why we're here to talk about these. So show me some love, and let's dig on into part 3, shall we? Alright, part 3, brought to you by Nekroz. Now, when I sat down and I started playing against Nekroz this weekend with Sky Striker, my first initial thought was, okay, cool, let them go first, put them on 5 cards, you know, they'll be fine. You know, Unicorn's not that big of an issue. And then I realized something here. When they end on Gungnir and the Unicorn, and you don't open up good cards like your search card, Engage, to search for Yield, Widowmaker, or the Blowout card, Afterburners, kind of just in a shit position because you can't high go toggle attack directly because, you know, good things exist in this game called Unicorn, so, you know, you won't get your dump ability. It's all just a giant shit show. And also, you know, Unicorn against Salamangreat is actually great. Like, that continuous jam ability that you get off of Unicorn is actually pretty amazing. Now, just because one card's good doesn't mean that the rest of the deck is inherently good. I mean, Brio definitely really helps the deck, but Nekroz are in this really weird position in this current format where they can handle multiple decks. Them themselves, like, I think having an extra strip would probably help out consistency's sake, and, you know, we could definitely see that with dual power here. But when I look at the deck, I see a very good tier 2 deck that could top, and now that more people are going to have access to it, we're probably going to see more regional level events be taken by Nekroz. And I mean, that would be great. You know, I would really like to get the chance to see more people be excited when they're like, oh, cool, like Nekroz just becomes affordable. I can play it now. Absolutely. And, you know, kudos to you if you're one of those players that have been waiting to pick up Nekroz. Because I think the time is now, and in a format like this, up until a ban list, the deck can be successful. So there's that. Now next up, number 2 here, we have Guard Eyes, which is literally just blue eyes with the Guard Dragon engine. Now, this isn't amazing, but if you're a dedicated blue eyes player and you know what the fuck you are doing with this deck, congratulations. You have an interesting opportunity to do things with your deck. I think this is one of the more interesting card choice or decks available in the current format today, because albeit the way that it's kind of gone at this point, you know, I don't know, man, like Agripane and Build a Board style of decks are really good, but these decks lose to interruption, and that's kind of what I was saying about Spiral and some of these other decks. Like, yes, these decks get a chance to sit at the dinner table, but because hand traps exist, their consistency ratio goes down. But that doesn't mean that we won't see people have successful days with these decks. You know, variance is very much a thing in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll give it to Blue Eyes. You know, you look like one of the worst decks at the playing table at the moment, and I mean, granted, you are. But that doesn't mean that this deck is not able to top on regional level. We've seen it a couple of times already this format. Granted, the format's been more solved, but the diarrhea explosion that your deck can do is really good. I actually got a chance to watch the deck play at locals. And once again, when it goes, it's great, alright? Fan-fucking-tastic. Like, it ruins people's days. And then you see it other days, you're like, guess I brick now. You know, but once again, it's a high risk versus high reward. You know, you play more bricks in your deck. The bricks don't stimulate anything, but I mean, when you draw them in sequence to go do your thing, good job. You know, you're able to do your thing. So there's that. Next up on this list is Paleo. Paleo is almost always very low on my list, but that's because personal vendetta I have against it. But we have 40 card variants doing well. Actually, it was like maybe 43, 44 cards. Maybe it was 45. And then we saw a 60 card version come across actually this past weekend. And now you're probably like, wow, that's a lot. Also, Paleo is cheap. All right, like if you're not playing Card Demise or you want to play Card Demise, you know, like you got variants available to you and how you want to approach your deck build, which I mean is what players need, right? Like you need options to deck build, so you can spend money Card Demise, but as a budget option, this is the go-to. Setting multiple traps, Trap Trick is still expensive, I know, but you know, you still have good things. Totally Awesome is a fucking card, my guys. Like, you know, the Frog Engine itself is decently priced. You shouldn't have to sell a kidney for that, to say the least. But Stun has a chance to do well. I think Thunder's the only one that's actually playing Denko Sec at the moment, and that's kind of coin toss as it is. So, like, if you're going through your standard day at an event and you avoid Thunder, but you kind of come into Sky Striker and things like that for 95% of the day, I think you could have a successful day. You know, granted, it's a deck that you can get your invite with, and as we say on this channel, you know, your goal with these videos, top 32 regional, get yourself a fucking invite, and then that way you can go play with the big boys. Because once you get your ass beat by the big boys, then the gears in your head are going to start turning. You're going to start seeing where you need to improve and things like that. Value management of certain cards, along with other things like that. All very important things that you will get out of getting your ass beat on a competitive level. Now, next up, we have Lunalight. So, we seen the predecessor of this deck come out in Chicago. Oh boy. And we saw another Lunalight list get, what was it, top 8, top 32 at Argentina. Now, because this deck exists in the iteration that it does, I don't know much about it, all right? I literally, every time I look at these cards, I'm like, oh, cool, you know, snap my fingers. You're just fucking, you turbo out as a thought, and you go. Now, the latest version, actually, I don't believe did that. I believe it was just standard link spam. You know, you step through Orcust things. You know, it's almost like it's an Orcust deck, but we're using the Lunalight engine in a way that promotes degeneracy. I mean, Lunalight Perfume Bottle is really good card as it is. They have some really, really dumb infinite loops that they can do in the future. When we get the Raid Raptor, the full link combo and things that they'll be able to do, they'll be much better. But for now, I would say they're in like the lower tier 2 category. Doesn't mean that they can't still top an event, because that's not the point here. You know, being a deck that can do a couple of different things on multiple skill trees, it's kind of dependent on how things are going at the moment. But I do think once we get further down the pipeline and we get more support and things, especially the Raid Raptor part to incorporate into the deck, we'll see a little bit more. But I mean, there's not much to really say about the deck. It's literally just as a thought turbo some days. Other days it's Orcust turbo. Doesn't matter how you fucking get to the ends, to the means. It's you do X things to get to X factor, and once you're there, once you've arrived at your destination, it doesn't really matter how you got there. I mean, the journey's still something, but that's that for another day. Then the last deck I want to talk about here is Praying Kids. Now, everybody that has read and understand what Praying Kids do, your boards that you make are pretty good. Being able to have a pretty big interruption on the opponent's turn is really good, but I almost feel that it's not enough. This deck is definitely good enough to get you your invite. Oh, absolutely it is. I actually think that it's one of the more crazy, interesting versions that we've actually seen kind of come out as late. Now, if we ever get Maxi back card, deck goes to shit. But in a format where you normal summon, you set up stuff, you climb ladders, I would almost put the deck in the ritual beast category of what they used to be. You have a very good, consistent engine that does stuff. You get rewarded for being able to step through your plays. If your opponent is uneducated on what you are doing, you're just that. I do think that the deck does rely a lot on uneducation, and I mean, I'll accept the consequences in the comment section for saying that, but it's a deck that I feel thrives on not knowledgeable players. And if you're going through a regional event, once again, you'll be rewarded for these antics of your opponent not being educated. It's just kind of how the current format is going with the deck. I think the one big interruption that you get on the opponent's turn is nice. Don't get me wrong, but your opponent literally almost has to walk into that. You know what I mean? To be shocked. It's like, oh my god, your deck can do that? Well, yeah, it can do that. Have you never played against Parent Kids before? But that's that for another day. So guys, this is all I have for this list. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Obviously, part 4 will be rolling out here some point in the future. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say on that. And, well guys, that's all I got for this video. Peace out. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a Truffle Shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out VanCole40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.